In the cold, empty space between stars, something old began to wake. There was no light in that part of the galaxy, no life, no movement. It was called the Dead Zone by the Galactic Empire. No ship entered it. No signal ever came from it. But today, something changed. A strange signal appeared. Weak, broken, but very old. It didn't match any modern frequency. Deep inside an Imperial listening post on the edge of the zone, a young alien technician named Varn sat alone, watching the monitors. He was tired, half asleep. But then his screen flickered. A sharp tone echoed in his ears. The signal had arrived. Varn leaned forward. His fingers moved fast, adjusting filters, trying to understand. At first, he thought it was just static, but the pattern repeated. Short, long, short, a pause. Then again. It was not random. It was a message. Old code. Military grade. He ran it through the database. Nothing. Then he tried ancient records, files that hadn't been touched in centuries. Suddenly, the system froze. The translation showed one word. Human. Varn's heart raced. Humans. That wasn't possible. They were gone. Lost in the Great War 1,000 years ago. The Empire believed they had destroyed themselves, but here was a signal, using their code. He sent a report to his commander, but no one responded. Minutes passed, then hours. Varn grew nervous. He checked again. This time, the signal was growing stronger. Something was moving in the dead zone, something big, far away in a hidden part of the zone, deep under the dust of dead stars. Something ancient stirred. A massive object slowly powered up. Lights blinked in the dark. Systems hummed. A deep voice, metallic and cold, echoed through an empty bridge. Power levels stable. Protocol 7 initiating. Preparing for reactivation. It was not just a ship. It was a warship. A human warship. Forgotten, sleeping, waiting. Back at the Empire's communication hub, Varn's report was finally seen. A superior officer arrived, annoyed and half awake. He looked at the signal, scoffed, and said, "Just a ghost signal, probably a pirate trick. Ignore it." Varn tried to explain. "Sir, the code matches pre-war human tech. This could be real." But the officer shook his head. "Humans are gone, technician. That's history. Stop chasing fairy tales." Varn didn't argue, but inside he knew something was wrong. The signal wasn't fake. It was precise. It had purpose. And it wasn't calling for help. It was calling to something. Meanwhile, the human warship continued its slow awakening. Robotic arms moved along its body, checking systems. Missile bays opened, powered down, then shut again. Shields flickered, warming up after centuries. A voice inside the ship said, "Status, 78% operational, awaiting command." But there was no human left to give orders. The ship didn't need one. It had orders written into its code long ago. In the Empire's capital, a message from the listening post was finally flagged as unusual. It reached a low-level official who sent it further up the chain. Soon, it landed on the desk of High Admiral Krex, a cold, calculating alien who remembered stories of the human war. He read the report twice. His eyes narrowed. He summoned his council. "We have detected an old signal, possibly human origin, from the dead zone." The room grew quiet. Another officer said, "That zone has been quiet for centuries." Krex nodded slowly. "Yes. That's what makes this dangerous." They decided to send a scout ship, a fast cruiser, small but armed. It would enter the dead zone and search for the source. Hours later, the ship flew silently toward the darkness. The crew joked at first, laughing at the idea of ancient humans waking up. But as they entered the zone, the laughter stopped. The stars seemed to vanish. The space around them felt wrong, heavy, like they were being watched. Then they saw it. A massive object floating ahead. No heat, no sound, no lights, but definitely not a rock. The shape was sharp, engineered, long, deadly. The captain ordered a scan. The computer returned strange results. Structure, unknown. Material, unknown. Power signature, active. The crew stared in silence. Suddenly, a pulse hit their ship. Not a weapon, but a scan. They had been noticed. Inside the warship, ancient defense systems activated, weapons locked, shields formed. But the ship didn't attack. Not yet. Instead, it sent a single message on every open frequency. Protocol 7, human fleet waking. Stand by. The scout ship turned around and fled. Back in the capital, the message arrived. Every leader who saw it turned pale. No one spoke the word out loud, but all of them thought the same thing. They're coming back, and the Empire was not ready. The Empire sent more ships. After the scouts' report, fear spread quietly across the high ranks. No one wanted to say it out loud, but they all knew. Something had awakened in the dead zone. And it wasn't just old wreckage. It was alive. It was human. The Empire picked its best patrol cruiser, Vraxian 3, fast, well-armed, and flown by veterans. Captain Tovar, an old war hero, was in command. He didn't believe in ghosts. He didn't believe in human myths. "We'll find an old machine," he said to his crew. "Scan it, mark it, and return. That's all." They jumped into the dead zone. Everything changed the moment they arrived. Their ship sensors started glitching. The stars looked twisted like space was folding. A strange energy filled the area, cold, heavy, almost like the air was thick, even in vacuum. And then they saw it, the human warship. It was huge, at least 10 times bigger than Vraxian 3. Its surface was black, like it absorbed all light. No windows, no movement, just a silent, floating mountain of metal. But the scans showed something terrifying. It was active, not sleeping, not broken, fully powered. Tovar ordered full scan. The crew worked quickly. "This size," one of them whispered. "It's more like a city than a ship." Their scan bounced off. Shields, not normal shields, ancient tech, far beyond Empire standards. Tovar frowned. "Try to contact them. Open all channels." They sent messages in 25 languages. No reply, just silence. Suddenly, the ship changed. Lights blinked across its hull. Massive panels opened. Not weapons, not yet. But something moved underneath, like a machine stretching after a long sleep. Then the voice came, cold, calm, deep. "This vessel is property of the Terran." "Defense Command, you are entering restricted space. Leave immediately." The crew froze. Tovar leaned forward. "Identify yourself. This is the Galactic Empire. We are not hostile. We are here for inspection." There was a long pause. Then the human voice replied again, unchanged. "You are not recognized. Warning, leave this sector." Tovar didn't move. "Raise shields," he said quietly. "Prepare weapons, but do not fire." At that moment, the human warship turned slightly. Its engines remained off, but its entire body rotated toward the cruiser. Then a light beam shot out. Not a weapon, but a scan. Deep. Powerful. It read the ship, the crew, the codes, the weapons, everything. And it spoke once more. "Threat level, minimal. Response, warning shot." Before Tovar could speak, a pulse of light blasted from the warship. It missed the cruiser by 2 kilometers, but the energy shook Vraxian 3 like an earthquake. Alarms screamed, shields dropped to 10%. Half the systems overloaded. "That was a warning," shouted the pilot. Tovar gave the only order he could. "Retreat! Now!" As they jumped out, The warship didn't follow. It simply turned back, slowly drifting into the dark again. But now the Empire knew. These weren't old wrecks. These weren't dead machines. These were warships, alive, aware, and ready to fight. The report reached the Imperial Command Council within hours. High Admiral Krex listened to the recording twice. He stared at the words printed on screen. Terran Defense Command. He knew what it meant. These ships weren't just defense tools. They were part of Earth's forgotten war fleet. Ships that had once stood against the entire Empire and nearly won. Another message came shortly after, from the listening post. More signals, from different areas. Not just one ship, not just one signal, but many. Across the dead zone, more. Human warships were waking up. On a small rocky moon near the edge of the zone, a second ship rose from under layers of dust. Its engines powered up. No crew, no life. But full weapons and AI systems came online. Another signal echoed. Protocol 7 complete. Fleet phase. Recovery. Inside each ship, robotic systems moved like clockwork. Repair drones flew along the hulls. Old damage was fixed. Shields calibrated. Weapons tested in silence. No humans gave orders. They didn't need to. Each ship had its mission written in memory. Wait. Sleep. Wake. Restore Earth's power. In the Empire, panic started to spread, not with screams, but in silence. Council members began secret meetings. Orders were sent to build more ships, update weapons, scan for Earth's location. But no one could find Earth. It had disappeared from star maps long ago. Then something even stranger happened. A third human ship, smaller but faster, sent a short message on open frequency. The message was old, pre-recorded, but crystal clear. If this message is received, then the plan worked. The Terran war fleet has survived. Earth will follow. Do not resist. We are not conquerors, but we do not forget. The message ended. In the silence that followed across star systems and colonies, one thought echoed in the minds of many. They're not just machines. They're cities of war. And they're coming back. The Empire had always believed it had destroyed the last human threat. That belief died today. Inside the Imperial High Command Tower, silence filled the chamber. Thick glass windows showed a perfect view of the capital planet, but no one looked outside. All eyes were on the giant screen in the center of the room. The message from the human warship was being played again. The voice was cold, emotionless, but clear. If this message is received, then the plan worked. The Terran war fleet has survived. Earth will follow. Do not resist. We are not conquerors, but we do not forget. High Admiral Krex stared at the words for a long time. Around him, the most powerful generals and council members waited for his command. But even Krex, a man who had survived 3 wars, felt something strange. Not anger, not confusion. Fear. He stood slowly and faced them. It's true, he said. The humans are not extinct. One council member leaned forward. But we destroyed their colonies, their fleets. We erased them from the stars. No, Krex replied. We only believed we did. What we destroyed were their cities, not their minds, not their plans. They hid, and now they are waking. A younger admiral asked, what do we do? Should we attack the warships before more wake up? Krex shook his head. You do not rush against ghosts with ancient swords. We fight with numbers, they fight with time, and they've had 1,000 years to prepare. Then he spoke the words none of them wanted to hear. We have to reveal the truth about the human war. Gasps filled the room. That war had been removed from public records. Children never learned about it. The public believed it had been a small rebellion. But the truth was much darker. 1,000 years ago, the humans didn't just fight back. They nearly won. The Empire had used everything, Armies, fleets, bioweapons to stop Earth. Still, the humans built ships no one could match. They used AIs smarter than any living commander. Their last move had been a final retreat, not a defeat. The Council believed they had wiped them out. They were wrong. Now, old reports were pulled from deep archives, black files, top-secret recordings. One showed a human battleship destroying an entire fleet in less than 5 minutes. Another showed a planet being evacuated because a single human drone had broken its defense grid. Everyone in the chamber watched in silence. These were not stories. These were facts, and now those warships were alive again. Meanwhile, across the stars, fear moved quietly. In mining colonies, strange rumors started. Workers spoke of dark, shapes moving across dead space, ships with no lights, no radio contact, floating silently past their systems. One cargo captain saw a massive object near a gas giant. He said it vanished before he could report it. Some said it was just space madness. Others remembered old stories, whispers of the Earth ghosts, war machines that never died. In a bar on a desert moon, a retired soldier sat with his drink, shaking. He had once fought in a classified mission near Earth's last known location. His team had vanished. Only he came back. Now he watched the news. The same symbol on the new human warship had been on the hull he saw all those years ago, the symbol of Terra. Back in the capital, the Empire tried to control the story. Officials claimed it was old tech gone rogue. A few rebel AIs, nothing serious. But the people were not fools. Messages from the dead zone had leaked. Pilots shared data. Civilian ships had picked up the human voice. Panic began to rise. High Admiral Krex called an emergency military meeting. "We need to act before the people lose faith," he said. "We'll launch Operation Burn Net. Send 10 fleets to the dead zone, surround the area. No ship enters, no ship leaves." "But what if the warships attack first?" one officer asked. "Then we fall back," Krex said, his voice calm but sharp. "We do not win this fight yet. We watch. We learn." He didn't say it out loud, but everyone understood. They were not in control anymore. The Empire, the rulers of thousands of systems, was afraid. Far away inside another human warship deep in the zone, systems continued waking. This one was different, bigger. Its power core burned brighter than a star. Its name flashed across. Internal screens, TDS Revenant. Inside its bridge, the AI examined maps, galactic positions, star patterns, Empire military activity. It learned fast. It remembered. Then it spoke in silence to the others. Phase 1, complete. Phase 2, approach. One by one, hidden human warships began to move. Not with speed, but with purpose. Their engines hummed low, silent to most sensors. They didn't rush. They didn't need to. They were already inside Imperial space. They were not trying to conquer planets. Not yet. They were waking up their brothers. And soon, the entire Terran fleet would be ready. The Empire's secret fear was no longer a secret. It was here. In the deep black of space, stars flickered like quiet watchers. But near the dead zone, those stars began to vanish, covered by shadows larger than cities. The Terran warships were no longer sleeping. They were moving, slowly, silently, but with one goal. Each ship had waited for the signal. Now it had come. Their ancient mission had returned. Regroup, rebuild, reclaim. The Galactic Empire had no idea how many warships were waking. They had only seen 3, but already 10 Imperial fleets were standing by. Hundreds of cruisers, destroyers, and command. Ships formed a thick wall near the zone. Their job was simple: watch and report. Do not engage unless attacked. But no one knew what the Terran fleet would do next. High Admiral Krex stood on the command deck of the Imperial flagship Varaxis Prime. He looked out into space through the transparent screen in front of him. Even with all his power, Krex felt something he hadn't felt in decades. Helpless. Reports came in every hour. Second signal from Sector 9. Human warship confirmed. Civilian cargo ship spotted an object in orbit of a dead star, transmitting a distress ping. Empire patrol lost in Sector 3. No survivors. And still, the Terran ships said nothing. They didn't broadcast messages. They didn't ask for surrender. They didn't even answer calls. They just moved, like they were looking for something. Back on a distant mining world, an old scientist named Dr. Marn received a private signal. His lab, hidden underground, stored relics from the human war. Pieces of wreckage, old code, damaged AI cores. For years, no one cared. He had almost forgotten why he stayed, until that signal came. It matched a data pattern he had only seen once, before, on a broken drive recovered from a human scout drone. The signal repeated only 2 words. Echo Directive. Dr. Marn's hands shook as he opened the ancient file. Inside was a message written in human script. He translated it. If Earth falls, we will not die. We will sleep. And when the stars forget our name, we will rise again, not to conquer, not to beg, but to finish what we began. His heart pounded. This was not a surprise attack. This was the second half of a plan written 1,000 years ago. The humans had known they might lose the war. So they had hidden ships, not just 1, not 10, but hundreds. Scattered across dead systems, buried under planets, floating inside stars, waiting for the right time, and now. That time had come. Dr. Marn tried to warn the Empire. He sent messages up the chain. Most were ignored. One was blocked. Another was flagged as unauthorized historical data. No one listened. But on the front line, the Terran warships began to take shape. Dozens of them were now in formation. Black hulls, no windows, no crew. Just AI-driven giants, older than the Empire and far more dangerous. One ship, newly activated, sent a ping through the fleet. Directive path confirmed. Next, Earth beacon. Deep inside the dead zone, something stirred. Beneath a cold, forgotten moon, a beacon lit up. It had been buried for centuries. Its power core still worked. It pulsed once. Then again, a signal aimed far beyond the stars. Not toward the Empire, but toward Earth. No one had heard from Earth in 1,000 years. No maps showed its location anymore. It had become a ghost world, a myth. Some believed it was destroyed. Others believed it was hidden by its own people, locked behind ancient tech no one could crack. But now, the Terran fleet was calling home. Back on the Varaxis Prime, an officer shouted, "Admiral! New activity!" Krex turned sharply. "Report!" 5 human warships moving toward the rim of the dead zone. Estimated path. Unknown. Another voice cut in. Urgent. "Admiral, they're not moving to attack. They're forming a perimeter. Sir, it looks like they're protecting something." Krex narrowed his eyes. A command ship? The officer shook his head. Something else. He zoomed in on the display. In the center of the formation was a strange object. Round, covered in metal plates. It didn't look like a ship. It didn't move. But its signal was strong, old, ancient. "Unknown object," the tech said. "Possibly a relay or a gate." "A gate to what?" Krex asked. No one answered. Then, for the first time since it all began, the Terran fleet broadcast a message. It was brief. It was clear. Stage 2, beacon established. Earth response pending. And then, silence. Not one Imperial ship moved. Not one fired. Not one dared speak, because the meaning was clear. The Terran fleet wasn't attacking. They were preparing. They weren't just waking up old ships. They were calling something back, calling Earth, and the Empire wasn't ready. The Empire waited. Thousands of warships stood like statues along the dead zone's edge. Their weapons were armed, their shields were raised. But still, no one dared to fire. Not after the last time. Not after seeing what the Terran warships could do. For 5 days, nothing happened. Then, the signal changed. The beacon in the center of the Terran fleet pulsed again, but this time it wasn't calling. It was answering. A signal was coming in, not going out. It was weak at first, just a whisper in the deep black of space. But soon the Empire's listening posts picked it up. Unknown origin, unknown encryption, ancient structure. Then came the words. This is Terra Prime. Command protocol activated. Warfleet status, confirm. High Admiral Krex's blood ran cold. He was watching history unfold. Not from a book, not from a story, but live, in front of him. The Terran fleet responded, in one voice. Warfleet online. Directive Echo. Stand by for home command. Across the dead stars, forgotten ships turned their hulls toward one point, a system not on any Imperial map, a black zone hidden behind gravity storms and collapsed wormholes. Terra. Earth had not been destroyed. Earth had hidden. And now it was. Speaking again. In a secret command room on Varaxis Prime, Krex met with only 2 people. Grand Strategist Varn and Science Officer Talek. No cameras. No recordings. Just silence and fear. They were never gone, Talek said quietly. They just waited. And now they're calling back their army, Varn added. Krex nodded. Not to conquer. Not yet. They warned us once already. They don't want war. But they remember, Talek whispered. They remember what we did. That was the part that scared them the most. The Empire hadn't just fought the humans. They had betrayed them. 1,000 years ago, the humans had tried to join the Galactic Council. They had shared knowledge, helped in wars, sent aid to starving worlds. But the Empire had feared them, their intelligence, their speed, their unmatched machines. So the Empire struck first. They burned Earth's colonies. They launched silent attacks on human diplomats. And when war finally came, the Council told the galaxy the humans were the aggressors. But now, the truth was, returning one signal at a time. On a small jungle moon in the mid-reach systems, a local village spotted something falling from the sky. Not a meteor, a ship, cracked, scarred, but still alive. It was human. The villagers watched in silence as the ship opened slowly. A single figure walked out. Not a machine, not a drone, a man. He was tall, pale, with faded armor and tired eyes. He looked at the stars like he had just come home. His voice, translated through his ship's comms, echoed through the village. Status, returned, awaiting orders from Terra Prime. News spread like wildfire. A living human had appeared. Not on a warship, not in a fleet, but alone, like a shadow of the past. Scientists said it was impossible. Some thought it was a clone. Others believed he had slept for 1,000 years in cryo-freeze. But one thing was clear. He was not afraid. He spoke calmly to the Empire's officers who came to question him. He didn't fight. He didn't run. He simply said, "The stars forgot us, but Earth remembers." Then he gave them coordinates, a location not marked on any star chart, the path to Earth. Back on Varaxis Prime, Krex stood over the galactic map. The coordinates blinked like a challenge. "You think it's real?" Varn asked. Krex didn't blink. "I think it's worse. I think it's true." Talek turned to him. "What do we do?" Krex looked out the window again, where thousands of Imperial ships floated like a wall. Then he gave his order. "We send a single scout. No weapons, no threat, just eyes. Within hours, a small recon ship left the fleet and followed the path. It vanished into a storm of gravity wells and dark matter clouds. Signals from it grew weaker with every jump. Then, silence. Nothing came back. No report. No voice. Not even wreckage. The scout had vanished. But 1 hour later, a new signal appeared. This time from the edge of the Empire's capital system, a Terran ship, not one of the war giants, a smaller craft, sleek, black, silent. It flew past all defenses, not because it fought, but because nothing could stop it. It didn't fire, it didn't speak. It simply released a single pod into orbit. Then, like a ghost, it jumped away. The pod opened. Inside was a message, a recording, a human voice, calm and sharp. You sent a scout. It reached us. It is safe. But your empire is not. We remember the burning of our colonies, the lies, the betrayal. We are not here for revenge. But if you raise a weapon again, we will not hold back. You have one chance. The message ended. No threat, no attack, just a warning. But it was enough to shake the Empire. Because everyone now understood. Earth was watching, and Earth was ready. The Empire was no longer calm. The message from Earth had shaken every system. No one could ignore it now, not the Council, not the military, not even the public. The humans were not only alive, they had power, patience, and purpose. And worst of all, they had given a warning. Just one. Now, across the galaxy, something strange began to happen. Empire ships started to go dark. Not destroyed, not attacked, just silent. Patrols near the dead zone stopped responding. Cargo routes shifted. Starports near the outer rim were emptied overnight. Something was moving, quiet, hidden, human. Inside the Imperial Council chamber, leaders argued for hours. "They're bluffing," one shouted. "Just scare tactics. Earth can't fight the full Empire." "They don't need to," said another. "They're already inside our systems." High Admiral Krex stood at the center of the room, his face hard. "They've had 1,000 years," he said. 1,000 years to plan, to build, to hide. And now they've shown us just a glimpse of what they can do. That was not an attack. That was a test. Silence filled the room. Then the Grand Chancellor asked, "What do you recommend?" Krex looked him straight in the eyes. "We don't move. We don't strike. We listen." But not everyone agreed. A group of high-ranking commanders, young, hungry for power, formed a secret task force. Their goal: hit the Terran warships before Earth could respond. They believed speed was the answer. One clean strike, and the humans would back down. They never told Krex. 5 elite stealth cruisers entered the dead zone. Each one had advanced. Cloaking tech, silent drives, and the best officers the Empire had. They were confident. They thought they could surprise the Terran fleet. But the moment they crossed the line, they disappeared. Not destroyed, not exploded, just gone. Back at Imperial Command, Krex received no warning, no distress signal. Only one thing happened. All 5 ships reappeared, not in space, but in orbit around Terra, floating, powerless. Every camera across the planet captured them. The footage was sent across the stars. Humans didn't destroy the ships. They disabled them and returned them as a message. We see everything. In the capital city of the Empire, panic began to grow. Citizens demanded answers. News networks played the footage again and again. How did Earth know? How did they catch 5 invisible ships? One channel aired a report. An old human AI system, called the Warden, had been secretly watching galactic traffic for centuries, tracking movements, storing data, predicting attacks. It had never stopped working. They hadn't just prepared. They had always been watching. Meanwhile, in a forgotten corner of the galaxy, an ancient Imperial prison sat hidden inside an asteroid field. No one visited it anymore. It held only one prisoner, an old man with a long beard and metal implants over his eyes. He was human, not from now, from the war. They called him Subject Gray. He had been captured during the final days of the Terran War. The Empire tried for years to break him, but he never spoke, never gave up secrets. Eventually, they forgot about him. Now, after 1,000 years, a single message appeared on the prison systems. Release Subject Gray. The guards were confused. They didn't understand. The message had no origin, no signal. It was just there. And then, without warning, the prison shut down. Doors unlocked, power drained, cameras went black. When they returned, Subject Gray was gone. No explosion, no sound. He had simply vanished. Empire intelligence couldn't explain it. No ship came, no escape was recorded. But one thing was clear. Earth wanted him back, and Earth got him back. Back on the Varaxis Prime, Krex stood in silence as more reports came in. A Terran drone had been spotted in the core sector. A power grid had been taken offline for 6 minutes, without any trace of entry. A listening station picked up a message. Phase 3 begins. Krex turned to Talek. What does Phase 3 mean? Talek swallowed. I think it means they're not hiding anymore. And then it happened. One of the Terran warships crossed the border, slowly, directly, and alone. It didn't fire. It didn't cloak. It simply flew forward until it reached an Empire outpost, an old supply base on a moon with only 200 soldiers. Then it stopped and projected a hologram. A human woman appeared, tall, calm, wearing a dark uniform with the old Terran flag. Her voice echoed across the outpost. We were not the monsters, she said. You made us into ghosts. You erased our name. But now we remember. We are not here to destroy. But if you lie again, if you strike first again, we will finish what we started. Then she looked straight into the camera. Your leaders must choose. The hologram ended, and the ship left. No damage, no attack. But everyone understood. This was the last warning, and Earth was waiting for their answer. For the first time in over 1,000 years, the galaxy stood still. No trade ships moved, no border patrols launched, no council debates echoed across star systems. Everyone was watching one thing: Earth. The Terran fleet no longer hid in the shadows. Hundreds of ships now floated openly beyond the Empire's outer systems. Black giants, silent and still, like guardians made of iron and memory. The Empire's most powerful systems were now under observation. Every major fleet base, every command tower, every deep space relay, all being watched. High Admiral Krex sat alone in the war room of Varaxis Prime. The lights were dim. The command table showed a simple screen, a blinking signal, slowly repeating. Earth awaits your response. No threats, no countdown, just a message. But Krex knew what it meant. The humans were offering a choice, war or peace, and they were waiting. Across the galaxy, some wanted to strike. Younger commanders believed they could still win. That if they hit first, and hard, they might stop Earth's return. But Krex remembered the warning. 5 stealth cruisers had vanished. A single Terran ship had bypassed every defense, and their message was always the same: we do not come to conquer, but we will not be conquered again. In secret, Krex sent a reply, not from the Empire, not from the Council, just from himself. A simple question: what do you want? He didn't expect a response, but one came. Not in words, in history. The Terran fleet broadcast a file. It wasn't a weapon. It wasn't a demand. It was a record, a video archive. The truth. Footage from 1,000 years ago of the betrayal. Human ambassadors being attacked, Earth colonies burning, the Council's lies spoken to justify the war, all of it, in every language, every channel. For the first time, the galaxy saw what had been hidden. Earth had been betrayed, and yet, Earth had never asked for revenge. They had waited, watched, prepared. Now the public demanded answers from their leaders, from the Council, from the Empire. Why were the humans erased? Why had no one told the truth? Riots broke out on some worlds. On others, people lit candles in windows, silently honoring the ghosts of Earth. But Earth didn't speak again. They waited until the Empire came to them. For the first time since the war, a delegation ship left Imperial space. No weapons, no guards, just diplomats. It traveled for 5 days across dead zones, gravity storms, and silent sectors, until it reached the black curtain of the Terran fleet. The ships parted, and the small ship was guided through. They brought it to a single place, a station orbiting a pale blue planet, Earth. No one on the ship believed what they saw. Earth wasn't dead. It wasn't destroyed. It was beautiful. Clean skies, green forests, ocean waves. Not a ruin, but a home, protected by layers of ancient technology so advanced that nothing could enter unless allowed. The delegation was welcomed, not by weapons, not by guards, but by humans, calm, quiet, watching with old eyes. One woman stepped forward. She had the same voice as the hologram before. "You came," she said. "Then you may listen." She didn't speak of war. She didn't ask for control. She only asked for one thing, recognition. "The Empire erased our name," she said. "We do not ask for apology. We ask for the truth to be restored. We will not kneel, but we are willing to stand beside you." The delegation returned home and brought the message with them. Within days, the Empire announced it publicly. Earth was real. The Terran betrayal was real. And a new agreement would be written, not of surrender, but of return. One by one, systems across the galaxy accepted it. A seat on the Council was reopened for Terra. The name was restored in every archive. Monuments were raised on neutral worlds, not to celebrate war, but to mark a warning. Do not forget what was lost and what returned. As for the Terran fleet, they didn't disband. They didn't leave. They simply moved into position, not to strike, but to watch. Peace had come, but Earth would never sleep again. And so it ended. A war that never truly finished. A warning that echoed across time. The galaxy remembered the Terrans as ghosts. Now they were real again. And this time, everyone was watching. Because if darkness ever returned, so would the warships of Earth.